especially early stage ones who want to just understand how different people work. And basically everything that you do sounds like it's relevant. So really appreciate the time. And yeah, I think it can be as relaxed as possible. And you're relaxed already. But yeah, very much like you. Yeah. So thanks very much again.
Thanks for the time. It's really, I mean, I know one person already is fighting into his set. Does everybody see okay? It gets a little bit better with and it gets a little bit better with the other graphics. But I was in the startup summit, and but like I'm always caring about what is the local scene and what can we have talks about. So I think it's really important not to only speak in the stages, but really do the groundwork. So I'm really excited. So this will be the presentation is slightly for the stage. So what I would suggest is I would just go through it. So we got all of the different information and we can engage in a deeper dialogue. I put some extra stuff in that I didn't show at the start at the summit because of time reasons, but it gives you a better idea. And then based on that, we will start. So the topic was, and the reason why I came was basically the topic of purpose. So the presentation is called Unleash Your Purpose, Why We're in the Business of Creating Miracles and Unicorns. And one of the intentions why I came to the Startup Summit was I have stopped going to startup summits because it was just basically bored of the same conversations of hacking here and blah there, and it became a very hollow conversation about that. And I was very driven for the last years about how do we get purpose and values into the businesses. So this is basically the angle of what this is coming from. And so the intention of this presentation was to share a perspective that might not often get talked about, especially in settings where I believe is actually a big part of the future of humanity is holding the opportunity of tech and purpose coming together. So the topic of purpose in and of itself, when you type purpose into Google, you get over 1 billion search results, right? So it's fucking mental. And there's so many different definitions, and that's what I would love to do, and maybe we can stick that apart and do it later. I'm really curious to understand what purpose means to you, because it might be totally different for me, it might be different from the 1 billion other search results on Google, right? So what I did on the summit was basically to give people a little bit of time to talk about. My suggestion is let's have that afterwards, right? And so then we skip the 30 seconds per person. So this is just so what I would do now is basically share my personal story. So it's really just my story, what I experienced to share with you, and then have a conversation on that. So the first chapter of that story called The Revelation, right? That's why I take you in my time machine and we go back into the year 2005. So this was my first day of work in August 2005, and started after studying graphic design in a big international advertising company called BDO. And for those who haven't watched Mad Men, which is a few people, there's more apparently Harry Potter here at the time. And it's basically used the creativity to produce strategy and ideas that helps companies to promote their brand, products, and services, and basically make it successful, especially also in the financial terms. That's what you get paid for, right? So you get hired to make them successful. And it was a really interesting time because when I joined, it was the times of the Web 2.0. So I think there's a few people in the room that still know what it means. And there's other people in the room that this was distant times. But this was basically the resurrection of the possibilities of the internet. It was amazing because suddenly there were like so many different things popping up in this world that we were able to work with. So basically my job was, I used what we do really good in advertising is to understand the needs and motivations of people, to really dig into that and combine it with the digital possibilities that are out there. And this formula has taken me, I started in the marketing department, but then earlier on I went into actually producing these innovations. So I went into the innovation department, trying to work with technologies and doing all of this fancy stuff that, from artificial, augmented reality, artificial intelligence is not a topic. But what was really clear then that if you want to make innovations, you need to have the right strategy for it. So we moved up the ladder and founded a strategic consultancy. And then we realized if you really want to help companies to understand the digital world, you need to change the mindsets of the people, and that starts with the management. So I did a lot of work in management consulting and really tried to organizational development and basically shift people into the opportunity of using these digital possibilities that are out there. And this is really hard work, especially in Germany. So over the last 13 years, I had the opportunity to work with some really massive companies and big budgets on doing that kind of stuff. And that resulted in when I founded my first company involved, which was a digital brand consultancy, that I got a call from a big German newspaper and they said, you're selected in one of 30 under 30, it was 27 at the time, to be representing the hope of the industry, yada, 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 right? So you find yourself suddenly into the newspaper next to a German soccer player like Mario Götze, and let's not talk about soccer though, German soccer. But it was like, to the outset, everything looked like, hey, this is the pinnacle of success. This is, I made it. But the reality was very different at that point. So a few months after that, actually, both of my grandparents died, 6 weeks apart. And I had the privilege to be present with them the whole week while they were dying. I've really gone somebody through this process of leading the life, which is a very intense and profound experience, but it taught me a lot. And in this moment, when you're confronted with the death of somebody that you love and grew up with, career and outside stuff doesn't really matter. And you start to ask yourself a more deeper question, for example, what is the meaning of life? Maybe a few of you have already asked yourselves that question, which is like you go down a rabbit hole when you're starting down that path. And for me, this was similar. So after, to the outside, all of this was happening, to the inside, it felt so different. I started to turn to books, to really go into philosophy and trying to ask people who have already thought about this question as a profession thousands of years ago, right? People like Aristotle. And when you come across, I find it always fascinating when you find people who lived so long ago and have set quotes that fundamentally impact you still today. There was really something profound happening. And Aristotle said one quote that really stuck with me, that where your talents and the needs of the world cross, there lies your vocation. And so, as a management consultant, what you do, you draw Venn diagrams, right? So, on the one side is what you do best, and the other side is what the world needs. And the intersection of that, that's where I found, like, this is where I want to look for my purpose. This is my path to really understand what I'm here on this planet to do. So, what do you do best? I just got this article out, the whole world was telling me, you're the best in making companies successful using your creativity, right? So, this was just the outside world was telling me. But then I looked deeper into what the world needs, and one of the things that came up was pretty quickly that video from Bill Gates.
By the way, if anyone here is in advertising or marketing, kill yourself. It's a little thought. I'm just trying to plant seeds. Maybe one day they'll think through. You do what you can. Seriously though, you are good.
So when you come across that, you think, advertising creativity is the essence of the work you do. You come across that video, it's very disturbing. So it was for me. Because when you look behind the scenes and you see, all these amazing fashion campaigns that are out there, and you see how that stuff is produced, including the collapse of, for example, the Bangladeshi production. Or you see, beautiful women like Heidi Klum that's holding a burger and saying, like, isn't that amazing? And then you see how our meat is produced and how the consequences of that is on the whole planet. Or you see the latest iPhone ad about saying hello to the future. And then you see behind the curtains and see how these people need to work with it, how these minerals gets mined, and that Apple is not paying any tax, especially also here in the UK, in Europe, which is like, these fuckers, of course you're the richest company in the world because you know how to play the system, right? And then you come across, and this is obviously something you can go deeper and deeper, but one report really nails it for me, saying the UN report finds that almost no industry would be profitable if the environmental costs are factored into it. And this is pretty heavy stuff. So no matter how many good life decisions we make about becoming vegan or buying sustainable sneakers or all of that kind of stuff, it won't be enough because the essence of how our economy works is doing way more damage in way more shorter time. So no matter how fast we change ourselves, which is essential, we need to work on system building. So I got very curious to understand that I was in this industry, come join us, that I was in this industry and I hadn't seen that. So I was in the epicenter of the Death Star, so to say, using Star Wars terms, and I didn't see what I was doing. So I was curious and looked into the history of modern advertising. And one guy that you won't that you come across pretty fast is called Edward Bernays. Edward Bernays is the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who did a lot of studies on the unconscious mind and how it drives like our behaviors and stuff, fascinating stuff. And Edward Bernays was also part of a secret unit with the US that was making the US going to war before the Second World War. And in 1928, he wrote his first really prominent book called Propaganda. And one quote that I want to read you by that is from this book, from him. If we understand the mechanism and motives of the brute mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. And this book was very instrumental also by the Germans in the Second World War. They really understood and what Germans are doing best at affecting stuff, right? So they really used the marketing and the understanding of how that works to drive it to a new level. And when you look into the marketing spending, so alone this year, it's $560 billion put into advertising. 560 billion, right? And that produces 5,000 ad impressions that you guys will be shown every day, right? So 5,000 times something is trying to manipulate you to buy something you need. And so one of the big things was then basically for me to really understand, my job is basically to manipulate people. This is what I got trained at and this is what I got really good at. And this was a really, really tough revelation because you realize you're in the engine room, putting everything that you learned and you got in your career and long hours and blood and sweat and tears into, driving humanity into the iceberg, into the catastrophe. And that obviously was a massive life crisis, like really life crisis. Because to the outside, you're actually inside is something else. And it took me years and a lot of hard inner work to really work on myself to let go of that mask, to let go of that identity, because my whole life was wrapped up into that identity of being a person, to the outside, and really letting go of that. So the first personal lesson I got for this idea of purpose was to find my purpose. I had to first let go of everything that I thought I am. Everything that I thought I knew, everything that was taught to me by society, by my parents, by my it was a very difficult time. Chapter 2, the quest. So this question really didn't let me sleep at night. If business is the cause for so many problems in the world, can it also be the solution? And so then you look into it and you find really interesting concept like triple bottom line that combines the planet, people, and profit into a holistic system, right? That it has these things into a holistic system working and amazing successful companies out there doing. You look into company culture and the purpose is one of the essential tools in order to have a thriving company culture. And then you look into the economy, there's great studies out there, this is one of them, meaningful economy, that really projects that what purpose does or what meaning does is the successful part of the future. It's not either or, it is one successful part of the company, right? And there's proof out there to do that. The one thing that really really put me on my path was basically this guy called Buckminster Fuller. And I highly invite you to look him up because this guy is absolutely fascinating. You never change things by fighting existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. I realized that I was putting so much time into trying to fight the existing model, and this won't take me there. We have a lot of incredible activists out there, but let's face it, the impact over the years, although we have that, is limited because we're not working on a new model. So looking at that, yes, it's needed to break people up, but also it's limited because we're not working on a new model. We're actually only working on fighting the existing system, and the system is very persistent. But who's able to build these new systems, right? And when you look at it, it's entrepreneurs. And then just as one exception, like Elon Musk, who is also very controversial lately, especially. I used to be a fanboy, not so much anymore. But still, he's building a new system. Same like Oprah, for example. She built a media empire on empowering people and empowering women. instead of waiting to get, airtime and bigger networks, she built her own network. It's fascinating. And that was enough inspiration for me for basically leaving everything that I left behind, took my savings, and I traveled for a year around the world to basically interview and meet entrepreneurs and change makers. And it would be a whole new talk to go into what I've learned. It was incredible people, entrepreneurs, artists, activists, change makers, philosophers. Like, it was this great bunch of people. But there was one thing that I would love to share with you as a guy that really restored hope for me into entrepreneurship. This guy was David Yuang. And I met David Yuang in Hong Kong, and he gets actually quoted to be the Elon Musk of China, in his company, the Tesla of China, but in vegetarian and vegan food. So he's a vegetarian all his life, and he's a Buddhist. And when he came back to Hong Kong, and who has been to China? You guys know that it's not a really vegetarian-friendly country, right? Eat everything from the animal, which might be a little bit more sustainable, but it's really hard to be a vegetarian in China. And not only that it's hard for him as a person, gas house emission caused by the meat production is 14.5%, which is more than global transportation all put together. So our meat consumption and eating habits is causing more harm to the environment than all of the transportation things together. So what he does, he goes out and obviously he speaks, he talks about it, but it was really interesting. He said that no, we need to build a new model. So he created a company called Green Monday. Who of you guys did New Year's resolution, didn't stick to it? Right? It's me and guilty. He said, this is a positive thing to do, a positive resolution for yourself, but New Year's is only once a year, right? He wants to do that every Monday in order to start your week differently. So that's why he created the name Green Monday, that on this day you live more green. You don't eat meat, you don't use plastic, but it's just for that one day, right? And that's how you start your week. Very, very powerful psychologically. And so Green Monday is about a social startup group that aims to tackle climate change and global food insecurity by making low carbon and sustainable living simple, viral, and actionable. And what he understood is that he doesn't need to create, a new activist group. He needs to make it simple and actionable. So you got a bunch of famous people that are famous in China. I didn't know anybody of them. Together to actually promote this idea of Green Monday. But then he said, like, how do we make it actionable? Then he went into, for example, corporates to create Monday lunch options, which are vegetarian. So he creates the awareness, and then he creates the option for you just to choose on a Monday to eat vegetarian instead of meat. This is one action. Then they partnered with restaurants, which is amazing. Like, all of these restaurants are joining this part, which is good for them because they get promotion. And there's a Green Monday version option on the menu in these restaurants. So again, very actionable. You just go there and you have just a lunch green, right, plant-based, and to universities. And this created obviously like a lot of buzz and a lot of new opportunities for partners going in. Sorry, that's not. And then what he did in the second stage, he created stores. And in the stores, all of the stuff that you buy is basically vegan or vegetarian, right? So you can go there and you can buy stuff. And then he also created restaurants and had like beautiful new outlets where you suddenly could take this action. So instead of going to this supermarket, to Sainsbury's, I just go to this supermarket and buy it. And he also has an investment arm that invests into these companies, bringing more innovative products there. So it's really, really fascinating because he built a new system. And the branding is beautiful. It's called Green Common, and they have like, all of these like workshops and stuff like that, how you bring more green into your life. They work with kids, which is really, really beautiful, to teach them new eating habits, because most of our meat consumption is actually taught by us through our beautiful dishes that we have on Sundays in the pubs. And it's just tradition to us. So how do you uncondition that? And there's beautiful branding. I'm not sure if you can see that. You can on the stairs, as for example, one step can make all the difference how you enter the store. So it's really beautifully done. And one of the things, for example, is also they create their own products, such as cold pressed juices, called Common Good. And they basically, they really follow up on the purpose and the mission. And what was fascinating for me, especially in this conversation, now I play something, the audio quality is not perfect, but I think it's good enough. Because it restored my understanding of what my personal role is in that game. And that's what he said about branding and marketing.
First of all, branding, as I said earlier, is branding and marketing is essential to the success of Green Monday. So, and I always emphasize that no matter how good your message is, it must be branded. It must be well marketed, well branded marketed. Because we're bombarded in the world, people are bombarded in the world by information, particularly.
So basically what he says, like, that stuff, what I was doing is essential to his success. And he really understood that. And this is really what came to be my purpose, is to empower as many people as possible with getting access to these skills, because they're crucial to help them along their purpose. So what is really interesting about that, he used the brand and the essence of the brand to guide all of his actions from, to the outside, like branding and marketing, but also product development, but also management principles, and also future innovation. So basically, sorry, someone doesn't really work. And so basically, he used his purpose and his brand and marketing to guide all his actions. So the second thing I want to share with you, what I understood from this journey, is to understand my purpose, I had to be a beginner again and be open to learn. We are so stuck in our ways so often, and we forget about how many opportunities are out there to really learn and engage. And this was one of the most crucial things for me, to really go deep into this again and really learn how to learn. So chapter 3 is actually the work. So this is the work what I'm doing with my company called Creative Meaning. Our purpose is to empower entrepreneurs to make a difference. So we want to give them everything what we learned on Death Star and empower the rebellion, right? This is what we're trying to do. Getting all of the tools, and there's a lot of really powerful stuff. It's marketing is not good or bad. Marketing is just branding and strategy. All of these tools is just one part that helps you. And the question is like, who do you empower? And at the moment, the reason why so many big companies invest in that stuff and buy huge, former people like myself, is because they know about the power that holds. And often what I found, especially in purpose-driven businesses, that marketing is like a no-go word, right? The branding is something that they want to stay away from. So there's a lot of missed opportunities because it's understood and associated with big corporations and whatever. But the reasons why they spend so much money is because it's one of the most empowered tools in your toolbox. And so over the last 3 years, I was really fortunate to work with incredible companies from area, work with people with disability technology, to foundations, to vegan product companies, like all of this kind of stuff. And what I learned through working from startups to medium-sized businesses, bigger companies, is that purpose is your DNA. It's not something that an external expert can come in and say, this is your purpose. It needs to be created from the inside out. And in order to do this, the stuff that what we do that really proved to be very powerful is we do workshops actually only in nature. Only do workshops with our clients. We try to get out to really have a deep immersive experience. And we don't do a normal workshop, we really go deep down into who we are as a human being and create from that spot. We also don't only work with leadership teams. We always do these workshops with a collection of people from the company, including sometimes the interns. Why? Because we need all of these perspectives on the table. And sometimes even we include, an empty chair for, okay, what is the people outside, or what is the world, or whatever the association for the businesses, to really keep in mind what is the essence of who we are and how can we be successful bringing that to life. The second one is to be creative. How many ugly presentations are out there that basically share this is our 5 values, or it's just like a like Excel sheet or normal sheet the first that we get. So one example we did with the vegan client we had in Berlin, we hired street artists that basically created office space in repainted it. We did it over Christmas holiday. So when the employees came back and we launched the purpose on the Christmas party, they came back into this new environment that creatively put that on and shared it with them. The second one is actually the purpose is your compass to guide all your actions. So no matter what territory you're in, with the compass you know that you get places, right? Because it guides all your actions. When you go into product, it's a different map than you go into marketing, then you go into like human resources, whatever it is, but you need to have that compass to guide the decision based on that. And so the compass that we developed and we're working with the basic purposes at the core And then we have the things to the outside, which is like branding, experience, relationships, like all of the things facing to the outside. But very, very crucial is the things that go into the inside. So what is your strategy to come from point A to point B? How do you do innovation to create the future? And one of the most important things that often gets overlooked is leadership. How do I lead as a leader within the organization? And how do I create the conditions for change and the conditions to live the purpose within the organization? This is really crucial, and especially after you hit a certain point of your company size. I mean, all of you guys are still, from what I understood, is in smaller sizes where you can really live that. But if you hit the growth curve, and suddenly you're not only, suddenly you're 50, 100, 150, 300, these are things that you need to now build into your system to be able to hold them once you hit the growth curve, especially in the tech industry. I've seen a lot of companies fail because of that, right? And one of the things I learned, it only works holistically. Over the last decade, I worked in all of these different areas and was always frustrated because nothing seemed to work. Because when you do leadership work and you have ugly branding, it doesn't work. When you have beautiful branding but you're an asshole, it also doesn't work, right? It is that, well, it works for a while when you see it nested, but it doesn't really do work when you talk about purpose. So it's really this approach, and it doesn't work if you do one thing well and the other, you miss out. So the third thing I learned about finding my purpose is to work with my purpose. I learned to use it as a compass to guide every action. And this can be really painful at times. For example, I realized that the bank that I choose was not as ethical as I thought I did at the beginning, so I needed to change bank account. It's a small thing. And then you need to change everything, yada, yada, yada. But this is a small thing up to the catering you use to whatever. It's really stressful sometimes to live your purpose, but this is the only way how you really get it together. And that becomes really authentic. So chapter 4, called The Temptation. Because it's very tempting to use purpose, right? As we can see, for example, from this guy.
Today, I want to talk about purpose.
Yeah, right, Mark. So if you see, Facebook talking about purpose, and they're really, really smart about it, right? It's, I'm on this Harvard address and whatever. But then when you look underneath the curtain and you understand the system, and then you hear, for example, former employees, which I think is one of the most powerful quotes of Mobility Hammer, says, the best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads. Right? We have bigger problems in the world, and when we have the best engineers, the best psychologists, working at Google, Apple, Facebook in order to optimize their own business models, we're in trouble. We really are. And they're paying a lot of money to get the best people in there. And if you look into the unicorns in their advertising revenues, with Google 95 billion or Facebook $40 billion, you understand that what is happening, they put rocket fuel into that ship that's driving us over the edge. And it's really interesting. There's a great book out there called Surveillance Capitalism. To look into that, and it's fucking scary. And it's not a conspiracy theory. I come from the advertising industry. I can say that this is real stuff, and it's happening right now. And one of the biggest issues, and that's why I came here also to the Startup Summit, and is because I think we need to shift that mindset in the startup scene. Because when we look at these things as role models, say, I want to be like Mark Zuckerberg. I want to be the next Google of XYZ. You really need to understand that this is empire stuff, not rebellion stuff. But it comes across like that. It's like, wouldn't it be amazing to be an entrepreneur? The unicorn was coined by a woman called, I think Amy Lee was the investor. And it's only saying that this company is worth $1 billion, which is only interesting to the investor, right? It's not something that the entrepreneur wants. And where's the, Andrew Carnegie, famous Scotsman, back then, entrepreneurship was also linked with social good and giving back. This was the essence. In the 70s, 60s, 70s, something shifted, mostly from the US, where it became me, and how can I be the richest man on earth, instead of like really being also good for the society. That also has to buy your products, by the way. So that's why stuff like universal basic income will be essential for our survival and not to, have a lot of troubles in the future. So when you pinpoint in the future, of course, we have a lot of challenges from political, don't talk about Brexit, but environmental, social, economical. There's a lot of stuff we're facing, and this is true, right? But I feel we can have another picture about the future, and I also invite you really to check out Jeremy Rifkin. You can send out a link later. And he talks about the third industrial revolution. And he's like an incredible smart economist, amazing guy that's also had consulted the German government and Angela Merkel on that the technology is actually the new system of where we can all plug in order to build the future. So we have the technological capabilities to challenge, to shift all of these things we're currently challenged by. And the technology is actually the necessary system in order to make that happen at scale fast. Really interesting thing. And that's why we shouldn't focus on fucking advertising, okay? So, but if you want to lead a change, you need to be able to look into your own mirror. And this is sometimes way harder than you think. It's a lot of deep inner work in order to really understand who you are as a person. We all need to understand how we are in our community, in our families, in our nation, in the global, human species, to really understand how we're interconnected with each other. And of course, we need to understand that we need to have a thriving relationship with the planet, because we only have one, and the challenge is just for more, as we just see. So one of these trips, actually where we met by, was actually to Berlin with the Future X stuff, and it was really about that inner work. So we went to the wall, for example. We had a lot of facilitation around the deeper inner questions. It was an incredible group of entrepreneurs, and it was really fascinating because then I also learned about the entrepreneurial Scotland. I learned about the potential that is here, and also the potential of that you guys are such a small nation, which is 5 million people. Imagine you become the role model for the next bigger nation, next bigger nation, next bigger nation, because you can really make a shift happen here way more easier than you're like a nation like Germany with 18 million, because you just have more people to convince, right? And that's what I really believe, and this is one of the core things that I shared on the stage, was you have amazing initiatives already. This is very fertile ground. Because if it is Entrepreneurial Scotland aims to develop Scotland's people to build the most entrepreneurial society in the world. I think what's missing in this statement is the most focus on entrepreneurial science in the world. Because right now the US is the most entrepreneurial science, and now Asia is coming, but I'm not really sure if we want to do this here, Although Boris Johnson looks very similar, but it's not really what will help, because we will replicate the same mistakes that have been done other places. And that's why it's so crucial to really understand that this is the differentiating factor. And only if we put that into the equations, we can really make a difference. Otherwise, we go down the same track, and too many people look to Silicon Valley as a role model. And I think we shouldn't do that. It's actually in many ways the worst thing that can happen to the world when we don't be very, very clear to differentiate the positive things for the negative. So the fourth thing that I learned was basically to live my purpose. It's only possible if I'm in service to the world. This is what it comes down to. Is it in service to the people? Is it in service to the world? However you define it, it needs to be on that level. Otherwise, it's not purposeful. Otherwise, it's a nice marketing stunt, and it won't work on a big thing. This is what purpose truly is about, for me at least. I'm not sure about the other billion definitions of purpose. This is what I learned for myself. Chapter 5, the practice. Einstein said, we cannot solve the problems with the same thinking that we had, that we used when we created them. And it's a simple quote, maybe most of you have also encountered it, but it's really profound if you start to unpack it, what he meant with that. And that got me curious to look into my own mind, which is also sometimes a scary place to go to, right? And I grew up in Stuttgart, Germany, where Porsche, Mercedes, Porsche is from, super entrepreneurial, super engineering driven, right? So my brain works a little bit like a machine on that. And I think many people of us are educated in the Western culture. This is how we get trained. The education system came from to produce soldiers and to produce people to work in factories and to manage factories and be part of that system like a machine. This is how we got trained. And I had some horrible experience in school because as a creative person, you not really fit in. And that can also be challenging for the teachers and challenging for yourself. Because this school system is not designed to produce people or to empower people to really live in this complex world we have. And the amount of shift we're saying right now requires a new thinking and not trying to, learn stuff by heart, which I never was good at. So the Western stuff that I learned was a lot about science thinking, it was about data, what we were doing, it was about knowledge and matter and profit, right? So this was really the stuff that I got conditioned by. And then on that journey, and I really put myself out there into places that I haven't thought I would go to. But when you go to and you want to understand the depth of your mind, I went to places like, for example, the Esalen Institute in the US, which was the birthplace of the human potential movement. You know, a lot of famous thinkers and philosophers have been there, and that basically fueled the 70s revolution and their thinking. Alan Watts, for example, you know, and had these conversations about what is the society we live in. I went to silent retreats. I went to ashrams in India. I really put myself out there into places that I was not really comfortable at, and that, you know, prior to the journey, I said like, I would never go to an ashram, that guru stuff, it's not really working. And then when you realize that guru just means a teacher to help you from darkness to light, it's a different concept. And when you allow yourself to really immerse yourself in all of these kind of practices, I wrote a lot into my journal, but one of the things that profoundly impacted me was actually able and had the privilege to live with a tribe of Aborigines in Australia for 6 weeks. And they taught me so much, and they have so much incredible knowledge. Actually, all indigenous cultures around the world have that. They really have profound knowledge about how the world works, what our relationship is to each other, and should be to the planet. And in these moments, it really shifted because I understood what I was trained in the mind. Everything that they were talking about was the heart. Right? Really difficult thing to adjust as a German being, like, you know, say, oh, the heart is important, right? So it's about feeling, it's about wisdom, it's about intuition, it's about spirituality, it's about consciousness, it's about being, and it's about purpose. This is where purpose is coming from. When you think about it, put these two things together. So on one side is, you know, the Western mind, and the other side is basically the let's say Eastern or more indigenous understanding. It's not only about thinking, it's about feeling. It's not about science, it's about spirituality. It's not only about doing, it's about being, knowledge, wisdom, data, intuition, matter and consciousness, and it's about profit and purpose. And I think the point where we at and what our responsibility is to understand we need both. We need profit to make a business work. All of us know that. Otherwise we couldn't sit here, and otherwise we couldn't pay rent, and we couldn't, you know, do the stuff that we do here. And this is important, but it's not all of it. It's just half. And you really see that people who only pursue that side, they're not really happy. And they don't seem to be really fulfilled because something is missing. And this is the undescribable part of the heart that's really connected to a deeper sense of meaning to the life, which is about purpose, which is about intuition. And all of us have probably had experience where they experience what it really means, what I'm trying to say about, which is really hard to put into words. So when we look into the future, I believe these are our tools, and they're crucial. So because these tools help us to build awareness, and this is the only thing that we have over the machines, because algorithms, machine learning, artificial intelligence is already outsmarting us, right? That's the only thing that's uniquely human, and with that we can overcome our ignorance. Our ignorance to the reality of our part that we play in that system to keep that system running as it is, and our opportunity to change the system by building a new one, right? This is really what it comes down to, is if we have the awareness to actually do that. Because if we have the awareness to choose the courage over fear, and I'm always really fascinated by this guy who had the courage on the Tiananmen Square to stand in front of the tanks with his shopping bags. You know, so I mean, this is like, wow, this is some really serious courage to do that. And because when we choose courage over fear, we will go out there and we will do stuff. This is the reality. All of us are afraid before they found the first businesses, and yet all of you guys succeed, right? Or to choose a safe career over a crazy career in the sea house. You know, it's different. I come from Berlin, so you know the Berlin Wall is very present in my life. But if we choose the ways to choose unity over separation, we realize we're not alone out there. When you guys come to visit to Berlin, I would love to introduce you heaps of other people that are exactly like yourself without each other knowing it. The reason why you're here in this spot already shows that we're interested in similar topics, and part of people who are interested in this stuff. So unity over separation. Or like, love over hate. It's like, my girlfriend Elena is like one of the things that really shows me the power of love, but it also means self-love, how we're treating ourselves, the love for other things, other human beings living in the city, and the love for everything else. Like using love in the boardroom is one of the most things I need a lot of courage for, to stand up on stage and talk about that work. Isn't it ridiculous? Like how we try to keep a persona to the outside and don't have it to the inside. But one of the most important ones, I think, is to have the awareness to just believe over doubt. Because when we don't believe that it's possible, when we don't believe that we have the capability to do magic, and I think you guys here with Harry Potter are a little bit closer than to people in Germany, but we need to really believe that it's possible and understand when enough people believe that it is possible. Nobody thought that Gandhi could free India. Nobody thought that the Berlin Wall would go down till a few days before it really happened. No, most people would say that this will never happen. The politicians will never do this. This is fucked anyways, right? And we've continually shown as humanity in history that it's possible when enough people believe in it. And so it's our responsibility to choose belief over doubt. And so the fifth thing I want to share with you what I learned is basically to unleash my purpose. I made it into a daily practice. I try to daily remind myself, and it's super hard because we will fall off the bandwagon, I do it constantly, but to remind myself of that reality, that we have the capability to do miracles, and it's our responsibility. That you choose, courage over fear. It's a daily practice that you need to do in order to raise the awareness. And with that, I thank you very much for listening. I'm very, very curious to hear more about you and your questions and all of that. So, now I was saying, how do you guys want to do this? And anything, shall we come closer together or something like that? Feels so, otherwise, so like.
Thanks so much, you superstar. It's amazing. I just took down my minutes done.
Oh, okay, cool.
Thank